Again, folks, Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. So proud to be with you today. We're going to look in the Old Testament at some promises God made to His children, the children of Israel, the Jewish people. He said, if you will follow me, I will bless you like no other people on the earth. I will absolutely bless you. And what God offered the children of Israel was this earth. He didn't offer them like He's offering you and I heaven. And He's offering us in heaven the same rewards in heaven He offered the children of Israel on the earth. Because theirs was to come about by physical warfare, and ours is to come about by spiritual warfare. Now they had to physically as well as spiritually entertain warfare. In Exodus 20:6, we see the first showing of mercy of the Lord, where He showed mercy to thousands of these people on the earth. There were millions on the earth by this time, and He showed mercy to thousands, and these thousands were the Israelites. They were the Jewish people, and He showed mercy to them, and that love me and keep my commandments. The ones that got that mercy, who were they? They were the ones that kept His commandments. He had a thing that He said, I'm not just going to show mercy on you just for anything. No, I'm going to show mercy on you if you keep my commandments. He said, honor thy father and mother, and thy days shall be long in the land which the Lord God hath giveth thee. Now remember, the Lord God gave the Israelite children land. That's what He gave them. And because He gave that to them, that was their inheritance while they were on this earth. Did these Israelite children who kept the commandments, who followed God, and died physically on the earth, did they go to heaven? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. Yes, they did. When did they go to heaven? They were in paradise. They went to paradise in the heart of the earth. And that a lot of people seem to think and call that soul sleep. It really wasn't soul sleep. They were in paradise waiting for the Messiah to come to the cross and to shed His blood so that He could come down and pick up paradise and take it up and put it in heavenly places with the Father. But they did make it to paradise by keeping God's commandments. Now, wherefore shall ye do my statutes, in Leviticus 25:18, and keep my judgments, and do them, and ye shall dwell in the land safety. Wow! Here's millions of people that want their land. And God gave them this valley as far as the eye could see down there. There was 100 and something miles of in the Rift Valley down there, and they could see from one end to the other with mountains on both sides, and there was fertile land, and it was a paradise on earth. And listen to what God said He would do here. You shall dwell in this land safely, and the land shall yield her fruit, and ye shall eat your fill, and dwell there in safety. Wow! All this fruit. Don't you know the rest of the people around the world wanted to come down and get that fruit too? They wanted to come down and get that, but God said, no, I'm going to give it to you folks. You Israelite children, I'm giving it to you. You just follow me, and I'll make this land be a land of milk and honey. In Leviticus 26:3, if you will walk in my statutes, keep my commandments, and do them. Same thing Jesus says to us in the New Testament. By the way, with all these Old Testament references, there's a New Testament reference of doing the same thing today, and it's not by the law, though. It's by grace, and we will have reward. Our heavenly reward, is going to be walking on streets of gold in heavenly places forever. And that's where we're going to be. Then I will give you rain. Listen to this. You keep them and do them, I'll give you rain. When will He give us rain? In due season, when the rain is needed. And the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. And your threshing floors shall be rich unto the vintage. and the vintage shall reach unto the sowing time. In other words, he's saying you're going to reap enough in every crop you have in the summer to go through the winter, so that until end, not just the winter now, but 2 months or 2.5 months of planting and growing, so harvest time. So from harvest time to harvest time, God is going to make that food stretch out. Wow, they didn't have refrigerators like you and I have. They didn't have the things that we have to keep that food. They had to be very intelligent. They had to know how to winnow that food, how to thresh it on the threshing floor, how to get all the moisture out of it, how to dry it, how to sack it, how to store it, how to keep it. It was a full-time job. There was no downtime. And then when you did get it, you had to keep the mice out of it, keep the rats and the cats and the dogs and the animals out of it. You had to keep it stored in a proper place, in its proper temperature. You had to keep it so it wouldn't spoil. God showed those people how to maintain on this earth without what you and I have as modern conveniences. They didn't have ovens like we had. They were smart enough to make themselves brick ovens, yes. But they didn't have what we have today. And they had to know how to keep this stuff, which they did better in that day than we do today with all kinds of preservatives. I went in the pyramids myself, and I saw grain in the pyramids, barrels and bags of grain in the pyramids. And do you know what this sign said on that window they had in front of that so nobody could touch it? This is just as edible today as it was when they put it in here 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. And it will plant. You can take every one of them and plant a seed. And they told us how many bushels it would yield per acre. That seed in there, how many bushels it would yield per acre compared to where we've come to today. Our seed today only yields a very small percentage per acre of what that seed that's in the pyramids today yields. If people could get a hold of that seed and duplicate it, wow, we could be back to where they were in that day. Look, the vintage shall be rich until sowing time, and ye shall eat your bread to the full and dwell in your land safely. What he's saying is you can eat breakfast, dinner, and supper and not worry a bit. I'm going to give it to you, and that's the way it's going to be. You're going to have the best harvest time, best planting time. I'm going to make the rain come when the rain's supposed to, the sunshine when the sun's supposed to. He said, all you have to do is keep my statutes, and this is what you'll have. It said, neither shall the sword, he said, look at this, and I will rid the evil beast out of the land. What did he say he would do? Do you know what God said he was going to do? He was going to drive the tigers, the lions, and the things that would come and eat the man's oxen and eat the man's goats and eat the man's things that he had to work with and eat the people too. And while they're out there planting, a lion come down and eat them or whatever. He said, I'm going to put these beasts out. I'm going to put them out. Not only the evil beast of the animals now, I will put the evil beast of the people out too. Watch this. Neither shall the sword come through your land, and you shall chase your armies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. Listen to this now. This is good. Verse 8. And five of you shall chase your enemies, and shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before your sword. And 5 of you shall chase 100. 5 men chasing 100 men off. Why, usually 100-man force, a squadron of men, 100 men, come in, and they're against 5. They say, this is nothing. We'll just knock them 5 out in a minute and just go on. But no, God said, you won't knock my 5 out. My 5 will drive you off. And that's what they did. Their 5 drove 100 off. And listen to this, even more astounding. And they shall, all right, that drive 100, you shall put, listen, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemies, they shall fall before you by the sword. For I will have respect. He said, I will have respect. Pages are sticking together here. I will have respect, he said, unto you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, and establish my covenant with you. He said he's going to make them fruitful, multiply them, establish his covenant with them. What did they have to do now? Remember what we said in the first. Obey his commandments. Do you know what I am? I am a living example of a man obeying God's commandments. And I'm in a new world, a different world than they were, but I have the same promises, but I have them in the New Testament. And the promises I have, though, is that I'm going to have the same thing on the land they had. And not only am I going to have the same thing on the land they had, I'm going to have a reward in heaven forever. Forever. The rewards that we do through Jesus Christ today are going to be forever in heaven. He said, and you shall eat old store, and ye shall eat, E-A-T, old store. In other words, you're going to have stuff stored that you can eat. And bring forth the old because of the new. Because it's time to put the new in where the old is. In other words, he's saying, empty out your storehouse and eat all that old stuff up. Don't eat this new stuff. Don't eat the brand new corn just came in. Don't eat the brand new peas, the brand new beans. Don't eat this stuff. Eat everything first that is stored from before so it won't go to waste, so it won't ruin. Because it's only going to keep. I'm going to keep it for you for 12 months or 11 months or 8 months or whatever it takes in the growing season. And then he said, and I will set my tabernacle among you. Now, what do we got? Do we see here? God is going to set his tabernacle among them. That means he requires worship. God requires worship. You must worship God if you want any eternal reward. If you want earthly reward. You say, Brother Peter, I work 60, 70 hours a week and we can't make ends meet. Something's wrong in your life. I'll guarantee you that I can put the pinpoint right on it. The very first thing I can put on, do you properly tithe? Do you tithe 10 cents, 10 pennies on every single dollar that you make? I'm not talking about if you make $99, you tithe on $60 of it. That's not good enough. Anything less than 100%. Anything. I tithe on, we don't tithe. We do not tithe on our, what we take in. We tithe on our gross. We tithe on gross. And then every now and then, what do? Every now and then we take a chunk just to make sure our tithing's caught up and put a chunk in there for something, for a missionary, for Christian books, for something. Put a chunk in there to make sure that you're caught up. Make sure you're current. Make sure you're current. He said, look what he said here. If you'll do these things, now he's telling these children, they're walking on the earth, by the way, just like you and I are right now. And listen to what he said. And I will walk among you, and will be your God, and ye shall be my people. Wow. the God that created the heavens and the earth, the one that came down and walked with Adam in the garden. But sin came along. And you know what God's saying here? He's saying, if you'll just keep my commandments and everything, I'll lay beside that sin. I'll put that sin over here on the side, and I actually will come and dwell among you. He said, I am the Lord your God. I am, he said. By the way, whenever you see I am, that is he. I am is God. He said, I am the Lord your God. And I will walk among you, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt. So we're seeing now, this is post-Egypt. This is after Egypt. This is after Egypt now. And so here we are after Egypt. They've come out of Egypt. That you should not be bondsmen, and I have broken the bands of your yoke and made you go upright. Yeah, what he's saying, he made you go upright. He's not saying you came from monkey to man. He's saying that you came from a yoke of bondage in Egypt, where you had to stay bent over day and night, making bricks, making straw, making slime, doing the things under the bondage of those people. You had to stay bowed down before the Egyptians when you went in to wait on them hand and foot, because you were a servant and a slave. He said, you ain't going to have to be that with me. You will not have to do that with me. I am not putting you under bondage. I'm putting you under free will. The only thing that you'll have that you have to do is do what I told you before. Keep my commandments. Establish them among you and keep them. That's all. All I'm asking. You is keep my commandments. He said, I'm going to make the plowing easy for you. I'm going to make the planting easy for you. And I'm going to bless your crops so they'll come up. By the way, in Israel, the biggest grapefruits, the biggest grapes, the biggest of anything is grown in the land of Canaan, of land of milk and honey. Now what he said here, they shall confess their iniquity. What is iniquity? Iniquity is known sin. When I first got saved, God delivered me immediately from cursing, swearing, and from alcohol. Immediately. I hung on to something called cigarettes. And I thought I was going to keep a room for those cigarettes. And God said, if you smoke in that room, you're going to stink the whole house up. So I had to get them cigarettes out of that room. Did I want to? No, I didn't. I did not want to. No, not on your life. I wanted to keep them things. I wanted to smoke them until I died. And by the way, had I continued to smoke them, I'd be dead today. Probably that was 40 years ago. Finally, God delivered me from them things and showed me that they were iniquity. What is iniquity? Iniquity is what God shows you not to do and you keep doing it. Then it is iniquity. And it is a trespass against God. So he said, now if you've trespassed against me, ask me, I'll forgive you. Don't go do it anymore though. That also they may have walked contrary unto me. Look, he's already saying now after all these things he's promised, and they're beginning to walk contrary to what he said. Verse 41. Well, let's remember now. Verse 41. That I also have walked contrary unto them, and have brought them into the land of oneness. Wow. He brought them into the land of oneness. If their uncircumcised hearts be humble, and they accept of the punishment, then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and my covenant with Abraham. I will remember, and the land also shall lift of them, and shall enjoy her Sabbaths while she lieth desolate without them. And they shall accept the punishment of their iniquity, because their souls abhorred my statutes, and for that they all, 44, in the land of their enemies. I will not cast them away, neither abhor them, or destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them. For I am the Lord God. But, he said, but, whenever you see but, there you begin to see something. But, he says, verse 45, I will for their sake. I will for their sake remember the covenant with their ancestors that I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. And I am, there he is again, I am the Lord, the I am, God the Lord. And that's what he is. And he said, Deuteronomy 4:40, thou shalt keep therefore his statutes, his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go with thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days on the earth, which the Lord thy God giveth thee forever. Now, you see the land the Lord gave him. Chapter 4 and verse 40. The Lord gave the children of Israel this land forever. Wow. What do you mean, Brother Peter? Well, in the 1,000-year reign, the children of Israel are going to be back on the land, and they're going to work the land again. And God's going to deal with these same Israelite people again. And for 1,000 years, they're going to work the land. Now, when God says forever here, I do not know exactly how this is going to work. But I know this. I know that after the 1,000 years, and the devil is cast into hell fire forever to never return to an earth, that God's going to make a brand new heaven and a brand new earth. And he's going to put people on that heaven and earth. How is that going to work? I do not know. I do not know. I know this. If we were designed with the same inhibition that we have, and the same ambition we have, and the same desires we have to do things with our hands, to make things and to do things which are pleasurable things to do. I don't know what it is you do. My wife likes to knit all day long. Knit, 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 and turn out blanket after blanket after blanket after blanket after blanket. She's like the woman in the Bible that knitted the purple stuff and gave it out. She's always, every time there's a birthday, she's got a blanket going. Every time there's a baby born, she got a blanket going out. Every time there's something going, she's got a blanket, a quilt going out. And likewise, myself, I'm on the YouTube. And I'm putting these things on the YouTube. And I'm doing what God would have me do. And when it comes to working by hand, I'm always building on this house. This is not my house. I do not claim this house. This house belongs to God. It is God's house. I live in it. He allows me to live in it. I do not even have my name on it. I don't want to own it. I don't want to brag about it. I want to brag about what God's done with my body to get it where it is, but it's not mine. It belongs to God. I want it to be used for the Lord. When this body goes to the grave, I want this house to continue on being used by another person who is godly, who understands and knows that this is God's house. And we'll use it under that circumstance and use it properly. And it doesn't need to be sold to give somebody a bunch of money put in their pocket to blow somewhere, to do something foolish with. It needs to maintain its integrity. This is a house of integrity. It's a house that God built, not Peter Hudson built. All right, Deuteronomy 6:3. Hear therefore, O Israel, observe to do it, that it may be well with thee. Man, he said hear, and then he said do, for a reason, that it may be well with thee. If you hear and do, it's going to be well with thee. That that ye may increase mighty, as the Lord your God, thy Father hath promised thee, in a land flowing with milk and honey. Well, you and I know the story. Now we know the story. This is their beginning in their promise. But the story is that they failed to keep it. God was keeping his part, but they did not keep their part, and caused themselves great grief because they didn't. Look at Deuteronomy 11:13. It shall come to pass. That means it will come to pass. If you hearken diligently unto my covenants that I command you this day. Wow. To love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart and all your soul, then I will give you the rain of your land in the season, the first rain, the latter rain, at the corn, the wine, the oil, the fields will send grass, will send harvest, and yourselves, and your heart will not be deceived and serve other gods. You'll follow me. If you get in and start following me, follow me right. Nobody's going to be able to deceive your heart, because you're going to say, look, God gave me this rain and I got this crop. This crop is from God. Had I not been following God, he would have held the rain back and we would have a dearth in our country. And by the way, they came to places where they had dearths because they did not maintain. They did not follow God. And because they didn't maintain, they lost what they had. So verse 18 says, therefore, whenever you see therefore, you know why that word is there? It's there for this reason. Therefore, shall you lay up these words. Now he's saying, lay these words up in your heart and in your soul. Bind them as a sign, and the hand in your feet, and the frontlets of your eyes. Bind them up. And ye shall teach them to your children. And when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way. You see what he's saying? You're going to have a house to sit in, and you're going to be able to walk by the way. That's if you're following me now. That's if you're following me. And when thou liest down, you're going to have a good bed you can lie down in. And when thou risest up, and thou shalt write them upon the doorpost of thine house and upon the gates. I had a sign out here that a friend in the jailhouse made me. This is the house that the Lord built. This is the house that the Lord built. Somehow somebody got that thing, and I've got to get another one made. But this is the house the Lord. This is not the house Peter had to build. This is the house the Lord built. And by the way, the Lord's the one that had it paid for. When I had a need for some cash money, God would give me some kind of deal that happened that would give me the need to pay for it. And so that it would not be anything owed on it. So it could be a debt-free house. That your days may be multiplied. Hey, I'm 74. My days are multiplied. And the children in the land swear unto their fathers and give them in the days of heaven upon the earth. Behold, I set before you this day blessing and cursing. He set it before them. The blessing, all that he has said. And then he has said on the other side of it, if you do not do it, You will not get the blessing. You will have cursing. That 27, verse 27. Blessing is from obeying the commandments of the Lord, which I command you this day. And let me tell you what cursing is. And a curse if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God. So all of those today, still today, who are obeying the commandments of the Lord God through His Son, Jesus Christ, are under blessing. All of those who are not obeying are under curse. You say, Brother Peter, you go to a church with a lot of people in it. How many do you see under real blessing? Well, it just so happens in our church there are quite a few under real blessing. But what is really makes me sad, there are many still under curse. There are many who have not come through that tunnel, have not come out the other side, have not decided that the way is to do the proper tithing. The proper tithing. Proper tithing. Proper tithing. What is proper tithing? 10 cents of every dollar passes your way. Every dollar passes your way. Put it in the church you belong to. If you're sending it, I don't care who you are. If you send it to a TV preacher, you're under a curse. You are under a curse. You will not receive what those people tell you you will. You are under a curse if you're sending money to TV preachers. If you're not in a local body of believers in your town, you're a heathen. You say, Brother Peter, I claim the Lord. I don't care what you claim. Paul the Apostle set the example. He sent Timothy and them out, Titus, Philemon, all them guys out to make these little churches in these houses and in these places, everywhere they went. He sent people into those places to tithe to make those places grow, that they could missionary out from there. They're like little suns on the earth. A little sun shining light out on the earth. And they need to feed the preacher. They need to pay the light bill. They need what you're sending off to a guy that's got a jet, that's going to go get in his jet and fly over to his island that he owns, some Polynesian island somewhere, full of servants that wait on him hand and foot, and walk into his multi-billion-dollar mansion with his heated dog houses and his parrots and his birds that are worth thousands, and his entourage of servants and people following him, and you're going to send money to that bird? I got news for you. Jesus said he didn't even have a place to lay his head. And his Father saw him. Paul the Apostle is going to have a mansion in heaven like no other mansion you've ever seen. Jesus said, I'm building a mansion for you. Whatever you do on this earth is going to be part of your mansion. Are you sending anything up there today? Are you sending anything up there for Jesus to work with today on your mansion? Or are you doing like these people? Are you walking in the wilderness? And get going further back every day. God hath brought you out of this world, put you in, still in this world, but put you in a place in a new world. My old world will spend everything on alcohol, spend everything on cigarettes, spend everything on some kind of pleasure, and always be in debt. I always owed more than I could make or I could pay. And after I got saved, God said, beware of that system you've been following and turn it around. First thing I did, went to a finance company, borrowed $1,500, went down to the beer store and paid that man cash money $1,500, borrowed money, and went down to that finance company and paid it off at $150 a month till it was paid off. But I paid my beer bill off and didn't owe any more beer bill. I never bought any more beer, ever. But that was putting me further and further and further and further back. So God brought me out of that. We've got so many scriptures still in the Old Testament. I want to break loose, though, and come up to the New Testament. I want to come up to Matthew chapter 10 and verse 32. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. So you know what, fellas, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, whoever you are, I have God the Son confessing to God the Father that I, Peter, have asked him to save my soul. I am no longer under the condemnation of sin. I am now brought into a new light, and am a new person, and am to follow him, and he is going to reward me openly, not only on this earth, but in the world to come, and more than likely on the new heaven and the new earth to come. I will be rewarded some way, someday, somehow, so that not that I can have it for me, but that I could bless others through what I have. I don't want all this I got here for me. All I got here is not for me. I have what I got here to bless others. I have a library I offer. I offer it daily to people. Come use it. Come use it. Come use it. Come use it. But you know what? Don't have the takers. Don't have the takers. Don't have the takers. They don't want to come use it. I tell you what you do. You let another 9/11 happen. They're going to flock over here. Where are them books? Let me read that book, Brother Peter. I need to see how I can get close to God. Wow. Say, fella, you could have got close to God long before this disaster hit. Somebody calls me up and says, Pete, I got a real problem. I go, oh, help me out, Pete, I got a real problem. I said, what's the problem, son? My wife's fixing to leave me. My children don't love me anymore. I owe everybody in the world. I'm in such a mess. And I said, bro, I talked to you a year ago about tithing. I know you did, Pete, but I've never been able to tithe. Well, you're where you asked to be. You are where you asked to be. People say to me, how can I afford to tithe? I can't keep up now. No, you can't keep up because you're not tithing. The minute you start tithing, God will come on the scene, and with God blessing you, you can live on half as much as you live on now. It's unreal. For $1.50 or $2 a day, $14 a week, I can eat all of the vegetables, all the fruit that I want, all the potatoes, all of those staples. I can eat all I want for $1.50 a day. Matter of fact, I can eat more. I can get $1.50 a day. I'll get almost twice as much as I need. I could probably do it with 75 cents a day. How you do it, Brother Peter? I go down to the produce place. They have a buggy down there that they've picked over stuff. And they put stuff in there they think is getting close to going out of date, and they put it in there. I like my bananas with a little black on them. I like my pears soft. I like my apples done. I like them soft. I like them not hard as rocks. I like my cantaloupes ripe. I like my lettuce and my celery and just at a ripe age, ready to go away from here. I can buy all of that stuff in a daily basis for $1 or so. And we can live comfortably and we can eat. And when I get it, it's fresh. My refrigerator is turned down to extra cold. I can actually take an apple that they consider is going away from here, put it in my refrigerator, bring it down to a cool, cold temperature, and let it sit in there a week or 2 weeks, and take it out and eat it. Because it hasn't gone any further. It's stopped right where it was, and it's in good shape. And learning these things. Listen, God teaches us how to live moderate and live comfortable so that we can use money for His work and for His sake. Matthew 16:24. Jesus, talking to His disciples, said, "If any man come unto me, let him deny himself and take up his cross. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited, if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then shall he reward every man according to his works." What is your reward going to be? If you have amassed $1 billion worth of junk and stuff and houses and lands and everything, not one single solitary bit of it is for everlasting. It all, all, all will burn and be gone. And you will be left with nothing. Except if you have asked Jesus to save your soul and forgive you of your sin, you will have your eternal soul. So it is possible to have your eternal soul and still act like a fool. But God said, if you follow me, everything you do you'll have ever after. I've been working now since 1972, November 5th at 3 o'clock in the morning, on a heavenly treasure. Heavenly treasure. First thing is, God said He's building me a mansion. Second thing is, I believe if I don't send something up there, He's not going to have anything to work with. So, if I'm going to get up there and I'm going to have something to work with, and I brought in, let's just say I brought 100 people to the Lord in my lifetime, I should have 100 servants there, or 100 people who want to join with me, who want to have part in what I do and what they do, who want to be part of this mansion, this kingdom, and have them with me. And that's what I have. Matthew 20:1. For the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that's a householder. What are you saying, Brother Peter? I'm saying God said that mansion that we're going to have in the kingdom of heaven is like a man who's a householder, which went out early in the morning and hired laborers in the vineyard. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he's in his vineyard, he was about the third hour, and he saw standing in the marketplace, in the vineyard, whatsoever, and he went out in the 6th hour, and he did the same thing, and he went out again, and he saw somebody standing idle in the 7th hour, and they said unto him, because no man hath hired us, he said unto them, go ye, and work in the vineyard. And so they came, the Lord of the vineyard, and said unto the steward, call the laborers in, and give them their beginning from the last unto the first. Uh-oh. Woo, wait, look at this. The last guy that came in is going to get paid first. Uh-oh. And when they came, watch this. When they came, that were hirings about the 11th hour now. Now from the 1st to 11th, that means there was some guys that worked in there pretty much 11 hours. Received every man there a penny. But when the first came up, those that had got there in the morning, they supposed that they should have received more, and they likewise received every man a penny. He's showing us the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. The last guy that goes into heaven is going to come up before God with the same reward that you and I do when it comes to the spiritual reward, what you receive when God gives it to you. So they're going to have that. And then, he said, and when they had received, listen to this, and when they had received, they murmured against the good man of the house, saying, the last he hath wrought us but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden in the heat of the day. And answered one of them, said the friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst thou not agree with me for a penny? I will give unto the least as unto thee, as it is not lawful for me to do what I will with mine. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own money? Is thine evil because I am good? So the last shall be first, the first shall be last. Wow. There are many called, but few chosen. There are many called, but few chosen. Wow. I'm glad. I believe God chose me. You say, how you say that, Brother Peter? Well, I was probably one of the best alcoholics that ever lived. I was probably one of the best heathens that ever lived. And I look back in the Bible and see that God chose some other good heathens. There were some good heathens, and God said, I'm going to bring them over to my side and make them be good Christians. I said to my wife before I ever got saved, because I played poker on Friday night, and because I had deacons from other churches come and play poker with me, and people who claim to be Christians come and play poker with me, and drink with me, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to show people how to live like a Christian. And that was what I planned on doing, and that's what I have done. And I'm still doing it. So Matthew 25:34. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. There is a kingdom that has been prepared from the foundation of the world. And in order for you and I to get in it, we must get in. We must be faithful. We must follow God. And we must do what He said. For I was hungry, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when did we do that? When did we see you hungry, thirsty, you brought you a drink, naked, and all that? When did we see him? And the king shall answer, and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, insomuch as you have done it to one of the least of these. Done it to one of the least of the people on the earth. One of the least of the people on the earth that have said, God, save me. God, come in my heart and save me. But they hadn't got yet into the church or anywhere yet, and then they find themselves at the end of their rope, and they're in jail and everything, but they're God's children. They just got in. And they got all these miseries and all these problems and everything. Well, he said, you bring me something to eat. You bring me some water. You feed me a little bit. You take me in as a stranger. You do when I'm in prison. You do to the least of these, and you've done it unto me, and the righteous unto eternal life. Mark 10:21. Then Jesus beheld him, loved him, and said unto him, one thing thou lackest, go thy way. This was a rich man that came to Jesus and said, I've done all of these things you're talking about, Jesus. Now what do I do? Jesus was going to tell him, you don't have to do anything, just ask me to save you. But he wanted to bring it down to doing. So he said, I'll tell you what you do then. If you want to approach it this way, you go sell every single thing you've got and give it to the poor and come back. Oh, he said, I can't do that. I can't do that. Well, what God was saying there, Jesus was saying there, except you're willing to give everything you got to God, you are not going to come to me. You got to give all your sin up, and you got to give everything up and come to me. Otherwise, you're not going to come to me. Let me see here. Romans 2:10. But glory, honor, peace to every man that worketh good. 1 Corinthians 3:8. Now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. Hebrews 10:34. For ye had compassion of me in my bonds, and took joyfully and spoiling of your goods, knowing in yourselves that ye have in heaven a better and an enduring substance. Hebrews 12:1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about by such a great cloud of witness, let us lay aside every weight and every sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that God has given us. The joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Verse 28. Wherefore we receive a kingdom which cannot be moved. Let us have grace. Wow. Maybe we may serve God acceptable with reverence and with godly fear. Wow. That's what we need to do, my friends. Look at this one. 2 Peter 10. Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and your election sure. For if you do these things, you shall never fail. For so an entrance shall be mustered up unto abundantly unto the everlasting kingdom of your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And in verse 17 he said, to eat of the hidden manna, and will give him a white stone, and in that stone a new name, written, which no man knoweth, saving he that received it. Let's be faithful. Let's get a white stone when we get to heaven. Let's get that clear, pure stone when we get to heaven. And I will give him the morning star. Woo-wee! Man, the morning star was Jesus Christ. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according to his works shall be. Wow. Blessing is wound up in obedience, my friend. Blessing is wound up in walking righteously. Blessing is wound up in keeping the promises of God. But sin separates, and wickedness brings a reproach, and disobedience brings dishonor. So we're only going to get blessedness by following God. Well, our time is come and gone, and we're going to go now, and we will see you next time. This is Brother Peter signing out. Bye-bye.